They bulldozed my family's 80-year-old bridge at 6 in the morning on a Tuesday. I woke to diesel engines and found a crew tearing apart the stones my grandfather set in 1943, filming, laughing while it collapsed into the creek. They had no idea I controlled the only other road into their gated subdivision. All 85 homes depended on me, and they were about to learn the cost of arrogance. Darlene Pritchett, HOA president, realtor, professional tyrant, thought she could push around a quiet engineer. She was half right. I don't fight. I win. What would you do if neighbors destroyed something your grandfather built by hand? Think on that. I'm Garrett Sullivan, 54, third-generation civil engineer, living on 127 acres in rural Pennsylvania, about 40 minutes outside Pittsburgh. Around here, mornings start with the sound of creek water sliding over limestone, coffee steam mingling with the scent of wet oak, and an old Dodge idling in the distance. My family has owned this land since 1938. My grandfather, Pop Sullivan, built everything himself, including a stone and timber bridge over Blackwater Creek in 1943. He hauled rock from the riverbed, milled the wood, forged brackets at the blacksmith. It took him 8 months. I learned to fish beneath that bridge. Replaced planks with my dad when I was 16. Every time my tires crossed it, I could hear Pop's words. Build it right. Make it last. I'm semi-retired now. Consulting gigs. Land leases. Widow for 2 years. A daughter out in Oregon. That bridge was the last piece of him I had. Then came Meadowbrook Estates, 85 upscale homes built on the old Kowalik farm. Gated. Icharon. They needed a sewage easement during construction. I signed they paid $12,000. Legal. Done or so I thought. Then I met Darlene. 62. Tesla. Bleach bob. Everything monogrammed. She moved in and became HOA president within 3 months. One April morning, she showed up unannounced with a certified letter demanding I remove my bridge within 30 days. Called it an eyesore and flood hazard per their environmental study. I read it twice. Ma'am, that bridge is entirely on my land. Your HOA has zero authority. She smiled like she was correcting a slow child. Claimed it was abandoned county property. I pointed out their 4-page study was from a landscaping company. No engineer seal anywhere. She left saying they'd follow up through proper channels. I tossed the letter. Thought she'd give up. A week later, just after 6 a.m., I woke to the roar of machinery. Threw on boots and ran out shirtless to see a bulldozer smashing through my bridge. Stone shattered. Timber splashed into the creek. And there they were, Darlene and 2 HOA board members, parked at the access road, filming it like a spectacle. I screamed at the operator. He shrugged. Lady said it's county demo. I got a work order. By the time the sheriff arrived, the bridge was rubble. He filed it as a civil matter. Darlene handed him a folder. We removed the hazard, she said calmly. We likely prevented a county lawsuit. Standing there in dust and underwear, I realized she didn't see me as a person, just something to push out of her way. I walked back to my porch, sat down, and as the creek ran brown with debris, made a quiet decision. If she wanted a lesson in property rights, I'd teach her one. Because I had just remembered something very interesting about Old Mill Road. The next morning, I hired a lawyer, Mitch Kowalski, an old classmate who handles land disputes. He saw the photos and said, Garrett, this is the clearest case of property destruction I've seen in 20 years. We filed 2 actions, emergency injunction and a $78,000 lawsuit. Not random numbers, $135K for reconstruction, $125,000 for historical value, $1,180,000 for emotional harm. The county inspector confirmed it. The bridge was fully legal, entirely on my land. Darlene had 0 permits. Her attorneys tried a counterclaim, said the bridge was public for 80 years, that adverse possession made it county property. Mitch actually laughed. Adverse possession only applies if the owner abandoned it, and I had 30 years of receipts. Wood stain, gravel, planks, every single repair documented. Dad taught me, paper beats memory in court. We submitted maintenance logs, photos, tax records. Judge dismissed their claim in 3 weeks. Round 1 was mine. But Darlene didn't back off. She upgraded to a Pittsburgh firm with marble floors and $250 per hour emails. They filed to dismiss my suit and forced me to pay their $50,000 legal fees. Then came a settlement offer, hand-delivered by a paralegal, wearing a suit worth more than my truck. The terms: drop everything, they'll donate $5,000 to a veterans fund in my grandfather's name as a gesture. Mitch slid it across my diner table mid-burger. It's a PR stunt. They want to look reasonable in court. I stared at it. $5,000 for 8 months of my grandfather's hands. 40 minutes to destroy it. And now they want credit for charity. I pushed it back. Tell them no. You sure? This'll get expensive, he said. I'm sure. 2 days later, screenshots hit my phone. Private Meadowbrook Facebook group. Over 200 members calling me unstable, selfish. He cares more about junk than safety. Did you hear he ran outside half naked? Someone even hinted I went crazy after my wife died. Strangers, tearing me apart without knowing a thing. That night, Lyle called. You gonna respond? I watched the sky darken over the creek. Smelled rain in there. No. Why not? Because replying means I'm playing her game. I'm not here to argue. I'm here to win. I pulled out my old Rolodex, actual paper cards. Engineers, surveyors, clerks who remembered handshake deals, people who knew where the figurative bodies were buried. Next morning, a whisperer from Rosalie Chin at County Planning. Garrett, I shouldn't be telling you this. She told me Darlene was pushing fast-track approvals for Big HOA expansion, community center, tennis courts, and getting permits cleared in 3 weeks instead of 90. All signed by Commissioner Todd Giesham. Should I know him? He's Darlene's boyfriend. They bought a Florida condo together. Public record. Commissioner. Fast-tracking his girlfriend's HOA. Rosalie, I owe you dinner. Be careful. They have friends. I hung up smiling. People with power always make the same mistake. They start thinking they're untouchable. And that's when they slip. I spent 3 days buried in county records. Easements, surveys, utility maps from the 1940s that smelled like old paper. I wasn't browsing. I was hunting, and I found something. I didn't tell Mitch. Didn't tell Lyle. Because in poker, you don't show your hand until the pot is worth it. Friday, Mitch called. They're pushing for a hearing to dismiss everything and nail you with fees. Let them push, I said, watching Meadowbrook's streetlights flicker through the trees. Garrett, you're way too calm for a guy about to get hit with $50,000. Trust me. Trust you on what? I'm working on something. On what? I smiled. Insurance. Because I had just discovered a single, perfect, legally binding word that was going to make Darlene Pritchett regret ever hearing the name Sullivan. Easement. Looking for something in particular, Garrett? Or just trying to avoid daylight now? Martha asked on my 3rd straight day at the county records office. I told her a bit of both. She chuckled, the knowing kind, from someone who's seen land feuds turn biblical over fence lines and creek rights. I pulled everything tied to Meadowbrook Estates, building permits, utility hookups, zoning variances, environmental studies, built a spreadsheet like I was prepping for trial. My daughter would have either been proud or called for a wellness check. That's when I found the crack. Meadowbrook's sewage plant, the private wastewater system serving all 85 homes, only had conditional approval from the Pennsylvania DEP in 2023. Conditional means temporary. Cleanup tasks and upgrades required within 18 months. I checked the dates. Deadline passed 14 months ago. Then I found 2 extension requests, both approved. And guess who signed those glowing recommendation letters? Commissioner Todd Giesham, Darlene's boyfriend. I leaned back so hard my chair made that long, echoing groan unique to government buildings built during the Carter years. Martha, I said, I need copies of all this. She sighed. How many trees we killing today? All of them, I said. That night, I called up Brianna Holt, former intern of mine, now an environmental engineer in Philly. She answered over the roar of a Phillies crowd. Garrett Sullivan. This better be good. I'm watching them lose in real time. I laid it out, the expired conditional permit. She let out a low whistle. If they're operating under an expired DEP permit, that's a violation. If someone files a formal complaint, DEP has to inspect within 60 days. And if the system fails, they shut it down. Everyone in that development would have to pay out of pocket to haul sewage. $400 per household. Per month. For half a year, easy. Send me the complaint form, I said. She paused. Garrett, filing that is nuclear. Are you sure? I told her I'd think about it. I didn't need to think long. The next morning, Darlene made the decision for me. 3 certified letters from County Code Enforcement sat in my mailbox, all dated the same day. Citation 1. Unlicensed junk vehicle. My dad's 79 F-150 behind the barn. Been there 15 years. Citation 2. Unsecured burn pile. Ashes from brush clearing. Citation 3. Illegal signage. My no trespassing sign supposedly 2 inches too tall. Each one came with $150 per day, fines if not corrected within 10 days. I called the officer listed, a kid named Tyler who looked barely old enough to rent a car. Tyler, I've lived here 54 years. Why am I suddenly getting citations? He hesitated. Then, quietly, Mr. Sullivan, I was told to drive by your property daily and document any violations. I'm just following orders. Whose orders? I asked. He didn't answer. He didn't have to. I snapped photos and texted them to Lyle. He called immediately. Garrett, nobody in this township has gotten a citation in 6 months. This is targeted harassment. I told him I knew. I also told him what I planned to do. There was silence. Then he let out one of those wheezing laughs he only gets when something is either genius or insane. You're really gonna do it? Yes, I said. Then save me a front row seat. That afternoon, I filled out Brianna's DEP complaint, attached the expired permits, Gisham's letters, everything. Dropped it in the mail. Then I called Mitch. File counterclaims, I said. Harassment. Selective enforcement. Abuse of authority. On it, he said. Anything else? Yeah. Pull me the original 1952 plat map for Old Mill Road. Why? I've got a theory, I said. If I'm right, it changes everything. That evening, I stood on my porch. Sun dropping behind the tree line. Smell of cut grass drifting from some Meadowbrook lawn. In the distance, their landscaper's leaf blowers screamed like angry mosquitoes. I smiled to myself. In about 60 days, DEP inspectors were going to show up at Darlene's gate with clipboards and official badges. And she wouldn't even know I was the one who invited them. Revenge isn't always loud. Sometimes it's filed in triplicate. The code citations kept coming. Every 3 days like clockwork. Mailbox too far from the road. Gravel driveway causing dust pollution. Firewood stack visible from a public right-of-way. Visual blight. I fixed the first few. By the 5th, I stopped. Called Mitch. This is harassment, he said. Document everything. I'll bury them in court. But court takes time. Darlene knew that. She was trying to bleed me dry with paper cuts. Then I got a knock at my door. Sunday afternoon. Man in his early 50s, nervous, twisting his hat in his hands. Mr. Sullivan. I'm Ken Ashford. I live in Meadowbrook. I need to talk to you about Darlene. I let him in. Poured coffee. I'm the HOA treasurer, he said quietly. Elected position. And I've been tracking financial irregularities for 6 months. He pulled out a folder. Spread it across my kitchen table. Bank statements. Invoices. Meeting minutes with mismatched dates. Darlene's been paying herself consulting fees. $4,000 a month. Not authorized. No vote. He tapped an invoice. Dated the day after my bridge was destroyed. She used HOA funds to pay $28,000 for the demolition. Classified it as emergency infrastructure repair. Then falsified minutes to cover it. I stared at the number. Why show me this? He met my eyes. Because she fined my wife $500 for planting roses that weren't HOA approved. And because what she did to you is wrong. I'm done living under a tyrant. You know, if she finds out, she already makes my life hell, he said. At least this way, I fight back. I shook his hand. You're a good man, Ken. He shrugged. I'm just an accountant who hates fraud. After he left, I spread the documents out. Expired permits. Gisham's conflict of interest. False minutes. Embezzlement. This wasn't just a personal feud anymore. This was organized, Rod. I picked up the phone and called Andrea Walsh, investigative journalist, known for digging into county corruption. Andrea, it's Garrett Sullivan. I've got a story. She hesitated. I read about your bridge. I don't usually get involved in neighborhood disputes. This isn't about a bridge, I said. This is about a commissioner taking kickbacks, an HOA president stealing, and permits being buried. Long pause. If you're serious, I'll need documentation. I've got 400 pages. When can we meet? The next day, we sat in a diner halfway to Pittsburgh. She brought a recorder. I brought a binder. For 2 hours, I walked her through everything. When I finished, she leaned back and exhaled. This is a real scandal, she said. I'll need to verify independently. Give me a week. Take your time, I said. Just watch your back. Because Darlene had friends. Andrea gave a tight smile. Mr. Sullivan, I've been doing this 15 years. I know how to protect my sources. 5 days later, she published. The headline dropped online first. County Commissioner linked to developer in land dispute. Ethics questions raised. The article detailed Gisham's ties to Darlene, the fast-track permits, and the campaign money funneled through Meadowbrook's HOA PAC with Darlene as treasurer. She left out the embezzlement for now. That was being saved for after she independently confirmed Kent's records. But even without it, the fallout was instant. A Pittsburgh news station picked it up. By evening, vans were parked outside the county courthouse. Geesham issued a denial, but within 48 hours, the county ethics board announced a formal investigation. My phone lit up, reporters wanting comments, township supervisors suddenly eager to revisit my code enforcement complaints, even a few Meadowbrook residents apologizing. I didn't answer. I sat on my porch, watched the sun sink over the creek, and smiled. For the first time since that bulldozer rolled in, Darlene wasn't controlling the narrative. I was. And she had no clue how much more I had loaded and ready. The road. The expired easement. The decomplaint crawling through state bureaucracy. I was only warming up. Lyle texted, "You magnificent bastard." She's spiraling. I replied, "Good." The media storm around Geesham lasted 3 days, until the real detonation. Andrea called Tuesday morning thrilled. "Garrett, I verified Kent's documents. The embezzlement article runs tomorrow. It's going to get ugly." I thanked her and hung up. Then I called Mitch. "It's time," I said. "Time to show them what I actually own." Wednesday morning, while Andrea's embezzlement expose hit the front page, Mitch filed 2 documents with the county. First, notice that I was closing public access to Old Mill Road in 30 days. Second, official notification that Meadowbrook's utility easement, running sewer and power across my land, had expired due to a clerical oversight, and I wouldn't be renewing it. Both filings were public record. Both entirely legal. Both landed like grenades in Darlene's burning house. My phone rang within the hour. County engineer. Nervous. "Mr. Sullivan, our records show Old Mill Road is public." I cut him gently. Their records were wrong. The road was never deeded to the county. I had the 1952 survey to prove it. Silence. Paper shuffling. "Sir, if you close that road, Meadowbrook loses its secondary emergency access. Fire response could triple." "That's not my concern," I said evenly. "I'm exercising my rights as a property owner." He muttered something about escalation and hung up so fast I heard the clatter of the receiver. Then the flood, fire chief, township supervisors, county planners, all suddenly preaching about public safety, emergency access, community welfare. I gave them all the same line: the road is private. Always has been. If Meadowbrook wants access, they can negotiate an easement at fair market rates. One supervisor sputtered, "But Mr. Sullivan, you can't just..." Actually, I interrupted. "I can. Check the deed records." By noon, reporters had the story. Andrea called, barely containing laughter. "Garrett, is it true you own the only alternate route into Meadowbrook?" I confirmed. She laughed harder, the kind of stunned laugh journalists get when reality becomes better than fiction. "They destroyed your bridge, and you own their backup road." "That's poetic." "It gets better," I said. "Their utility easement expired. They've been running sewage and power through my land illegally." She asked if I'd cut them off. I said I hadn't decided. But fair compensation seemed reasonable. What's fair? She pressed. I leaned back with chair creaking. A rebuilt bridge would be a good start. Panic detonated inside Meadowbrook. Emergency HOA meeting by Thursday night. Kent Liv texted me. Residents shouting, demanding Darlene resign. Others screaming about lawsuits, some already calling realtors. By Friday morning, the meeting recording landed in my inbox, likely from 3 different sources. I listened in my truck, sun warm on my arm, scent of fresh-cut hay drifting in. Darlene's voice trembled as she tried to calm 85 furious homeowners. This is a legal technicality. Our attorneys. A resident cut her off, furious. You told us everything was handled. Now we hear the president embezzled funds, and we might lose sewage. Another voice, elderly, shaking. My mother is 78. What happens if an ambulance can't get through because you pissed off the wrong neighbor? She had no answers, just stammering and empty promises. I sat on my porch that evening, watching the sky bruise purple and orange, creek whispering beside me. It wasn't revenge. Not yet. It was control. Infrastructure is power, roads, utilities, access. These weren't luxuries. They were lifelines. And I owned them. Lyle texted, Bro, Meadowbrook Facebook group is melting. This is better than poker. I replied, game's not over. Now comes the fun part. Saturday morning, my kitchen became a war room. 5 people, by 9 a.m. coffee brewing. Adrenaline humming. Mitch at the table, legal pads stacked like ammo. Lyle at the counter, grinning feral. Rosalie from planning with a borrowed flash drive. Judge Harlan Meeks, retired at 76, sharp as a scalpel, reading documents with glasses low on his nose. And Brianna Hull, former intern, now environmental engineer, carrying a binder thick enough to cave a skull. All right, Mitch said, clicking his pen. Endgame. You got leverage. Road, easement, public sympathy, Darlene under federal fire. Question is, what do you actually want? I've been waiting to say it. Justice. My bridge rebuilt. Proper materials. A formal apology in print. Fair compensation for the easement. And Darlene out of that presidency. The room went quiet. Judge Meeks looked over his glasses. All reasonable. But if you push too hard, you become the villain. Courts remember vindictive winners. Leave her an inch of face. Barely an inch, but something. Lyle scoffed. She filmed herself demolishing his grandfather's bridge. How much face does she deserve? The judge smiled. Legally? None. Strategically? Enough that he walks out the hero, not the bully. We refined it. Brianna, the D complaint would force a sewage inspection within 60 days. Guaranteed failure. Not vengeance. Just bureaucracy. Rosalie, ethics findings on Geesham would reveal systemic corruption. Garrett wasn't angry. He was observant. Mitch drafted the settlement. 40 pages, exhibits attached. We demand public mediation, he said. Township supervisors meeting. Recorded. Open. No hiding behind lawyers. If she accepts, you win. If she refuses, you look righteous. She looks reckless. I nodded. Sunlight. Terms were razor-specific. $500 per month for easement. 20 years. 3 contractor bids for the bridge. HOA pays the median. No substitutions. And the apology? Mitch asked. It names me. Names my grandfather. Admits the demolition was unauthorized and wrong. Runs 2 weeks in the Township Gazette. Posted at Meadowbrook's entrance. Rosalie grinned. She'll choke on that. She should have thought before she brought the bulldozer, I said. Then came risks. What if she refused? I legally could close road and utilities, but innocent residents would suffer. Public sympathy could flip. You don't want to be the guy who blocked Grandma's ambulance, Mitch warned. Judge Meeks offered compromise. Close road to residents, but permit emergency vehicles. Apply pressure without endangering lives. Brianna added, same for utilities. Notice first. Give 30 days. If no deal, then cut. We covered everything. Countersuits, petitions, media spin. By noon they left. Plan locked. Binder thick. Lyle lingered. Clapped my shoulder. Garrett, I've known you 30 years. Never seen you like this. Like what? Focused. A little terrifying. Remind me never to piss you off. I laughed. After they left, I stood at my window looking toward Meadowbrook. Hidden by trees, but there. Perfect streets. Matching mailboxes. An HOA president who believed rules were toys. Will it get worse? I asked. He met my eyes. Probably. But you've got documentation, cameras, law on your side. Friday, township supervisors meeting. I sat in the back, silent. Presence was enough. During public comments, 3 Meadowbrook residents blasted me, said I was holding them hostage, risking safety, that eminent domain should seize my road. The supervisors asked if I wanted to respond. I stood. I'm not holding anyone hostage. I am protecting what I own. Meadowbrook is welcome to negotiate access through my attorney. But after destroying my family's bridge, don't expect it for free. I thanked him and left. Out in the lot, I saw her. Darlene, alone in her Tesla. Just sitting, staring through the windshield. She didn't look angry anymore. She looked scared. Good. She stared down at the table, face drained of any remaining defiance. Then I played the chainsaw footage, the men cutting trees at 2:30 a.m., dropping oaks like siege weapons. The room collectively recoiled when they fled on camera. When I explained that the rental truck was traced to her son, Marcus, a whisper spread through the crowd like a cold draft. Darlene went ghost white. I haven't pressed charges, I said steady, because this was never about revenge. It's about justice. Expired 14 months ago. Legally, I could close that road and cut every line tomorrow. Yes, a few residents looked physically ill. But I won't. Because innocent families shouldn't pay for someone else's arrogance. So here's how we fixed this. I laid the papers on the table like final cards in a quiet game. Meadowbrook pays $78,000 for bridge damages. They fund reconstruction, historic standards, total around $120,000. A public apology in the Township Gazette, 2 weeks. A new easement, $500 a month for 20 years. Free emergency access because I'm not cruel. And all harassment stops. Permanently. Then I looked at Darlene. You thought I wouldn't fight. You were half right. I didn't fight loud. I fought smart. She stood. Hollow. I acted in what I believed were the community's best interests. No apology. No ownership. Just ashes of pride. The mediation concluded. Reporters swarmed. Residents shouted. Cameras flashed. I stayed seated, calm for the first time in months. Outside, under a clean night sky, Lyle was waiting. You did it, he grinned. Mitch clapped my shoulder. In 30 years of law, I've never seen someone dismantle an opponent so completely without raising their voice. I looked at the stars. I didn't dismantle her, I said. I just showed everyone the receipts. Epilogue. The settlement hit my account within a week. The apology ran twice in stiff black ink. Bridge reconstruction began in June under Vernon, a stonemason who understood legacy. We rebuilt it stone by stone from creek rock, just like Pops did. In July, I hosted a community stone setting day. I expected 20 people. 67 showed up. A little girl asked me why the bridge mattered. Because bridges are meant to help people, I said. She nodded and painted flowers on her rock. In September, we dedicated it. Sullivan Bridge, built 1943 by William Pop Sullivan. Rebuilt 2025 by the community. I started the Pop Sullivan Trade Scholarship with a portion of the settlement. First recipient, Kent's daughter. Meadowbrook Clean House. New board. Transparent books. Accountability baked into bylaws. Corruption didn't just fall, it was exiled. And Darlene? She vanished. Arizona, they say. I don't think about her much. Months later, I got a text from Patterson, new HOA president. Spring potluck. You're invited. Guest of honor. No pressure, just welcome. I typed back, I'll bring potato salad. Sometimes, building back isn't about revenge. It's about repair.